In a medieval world ravaged by the Black Plague, two returning Crusader knights, Bayman and Felson, are entrusted with a mission to transport a young woman accused of witchcraft to a distant monastery. As they embark on their perilous journey, doubts and supernatural challenges test their faith in the Church and their own beliefs. In 1235 AD, in Villach, Austria, a priest executes 3 accused witches at a bridge. Despite pleas, the young woman confesses, the midwife defends herself, and the spinster curses the priest. The soldiers throw them off the bridge, and the young woman realizes her soul is saved, but her body is condemned. She is hanged. After the execution, soldiers lower the bodies into the river. The priest wants to read from the Book of Solomon to prevent them from rising, but the commander dismisses it, believing hanging and drowning are sufficient to ensure they stay dead. At dusk, the priest retrieves the bodies from the river. While performing a ritual from the Book of Solomon, the spinster's body convulses and chokes, then becomes still. Pulling up the midwife, the rope suddenly yanks back, causing the priest to fall into the river. After reaching shore, he feels his foot grabbed, screams, and scrambles back to the bridge. The midwife's body emerges, contorting her face, setting the book on fire, and hanging the priest from the bridge. In 1332 AD, during the Crusades, Knights Bayman and Felson prepared for battles, playfully betting on who could defeat more foes. They fight zealously against the Turks and celebrate in taverns. Over time, as the knights engage in battles, they attack a kingdom, resulting in the deaths of women and children. This prompts them to question whether God or their church leaders are truly commanding the wars. Bayman and Felson both stop and stare in disbelief at the true scope of the casualties. At the end of the siege, Bayman confronts the Grandmaster of the church army over the slaughter of helpless women and children. Finally disillusioned with everything they had been fighting for, Bayman and Felson decide to walk away and leave the church army. A month later, Bayman and Felson walk along the Styria coast. Searching for food, they reach a farmhouse, hoping to trade for a meal. To their horror, they find the farmer and his wife dead from a terrible illness, covered in flies. With the farm deserted, Bayman and Felson manage to take 2 horses, ensuring they burn the farmhouse and bodies to prevent the illness from spreading. Arriving in a town, Felson is concerned about being recognized as church deserters, but they can't afford to bypass it. The horses they have are farm animals, and can't carry them much farther. They need to trade the horses for provisions, food, and maybe proper riding horses. However, inside the town, they soon discover the grip of death weighing heavily on it. The streets are filled with the bodies of the deceased, left there as the remaining residents grapple with the challenge of burying or burning the corpses. A terrible plague has taken hold of the village, claiming lives by the dozens. The pestilence has ravaged the countryside for 3.5 years. Felson and Bayman are negotiating with a stableman for new horses. However, as a young stable boy handles Bayman's bundle, his Crusader sword falls out, revealing its crest. Despite Bayman's attempt to retrieve the bundle quickly, the stable master notices the crest. While Bayman and Felson try to leave the town hastily, they are cornered by several soldiers. Despite putting up a fight, they are outnumbered and captured. As they are escorted to the church dungeon, a priest named de Belzac requests to see Bayman's sword. Upon inspecting the crest, he orders Bayman and Felson to follow him. De Belzac leads the 2 men into the church temple, where they face Cardinal d'Ambroise, who is suffering from the plague and being cared for by priests. D'Ambroise and de Belzac claim that the plague is caused by a black witch, whose confession de Belzac heard. They explain that the witch must be taken to the abbey of Séverac, where monks hold the last copy of a ritual book to end her powers and stop the plague. D'Ambroise wants Bayman and Felson to join de Belzac and Eckhart, his best knight, in escorting the witch. When Bayman refuses, stating he no longer serves the church, they are thrown into the dungeon, facing execution for desertion. In the adjacent cell, Bayman and Felson see the accused Black Witch, a frightened young woman. Bayman dismisses the idea of her confession, noting the church's persuasive methods. During the night, the accused girl briefly observes Bayman as he sleeps. Haunted by memories of killing a Turk woman, Bayman wakes up to find the frightened girl sobbing in her cell across from him. Touched by compassion, Bayman requests de Belzac's presence and offers to escort the girl to Séverac. In exchange, he seeks a commitment to a fair trial. As Bayman acts for genuine justice, not as a church favor, they reluctantly agree to his condition and pardon both Bayman and Felson. Bayman and Felson are given the 6-day travel route to Séverac, involving perilous terrains. De Belzac, unfamiliar with the route, agrees to Bayman's insistence on hiring Hagamar, a man in a pillory accused of cheating church officials, as a guide. Behmen, speaking as a knight, offers Hagamar a pardon from the town's bailiff in exchange for guiding the party escorting the girl to Severac, warning him against any attempt to escape. The girl is confined in a cage on a wagon heading to the abbey. Townspeople hurl insults and refuse at her. Meanwhile, Cardinal d'Amboise dies at the church temple. As the escort moves, Eckhart questions de Balzac about finding the girl. De Balzac discovered the girl in Marburg, muttering strange words. A fortnight later, the plague spread to every village she passed. Eckhart is skeptical, as his own village was affected despite not witnessing the girl passing through. Behmen and Felsen talk about the girl's surprising strength when they were moving her to the wagon, and she resisted them. Felsen senses they are being followed. They set up a trap and confront the pursuer, forcing him off his horse. Behmen reveals the pursuer to be Kay, the altar boy who mourned Cardinal d'Amboise. Kay, seeking knighthood, requests to accompany the party to Severac. Felsen mocks the idea, leading to a defiant exchange. To settle the dispute, a duel is proposed, with Behmen urging Felsen to use his offhand and refrain from causing harm. Though Kay is not Felsen's match, his courage convinces Behmen to allow him to join the escort party. That night, Behmen shares crusade stories with Kay. Later, he brings food and a blanket to the girl, who reveals de Balzac's brutal torture. Fearing the Severac trial, she recounts another girl's unjust fate in her village. Comforting her, Behmen promises a fair trial. Returning to camp, de Balzac warns Behmen of the girl's deceptive nature. That night, de Balzac's warnings start to make sense. While relieving Eckhart, he discusses concerns. Eckhart sees similarities between the girl and his deceased daughter, Mila. Worried about the cardinal's promise for a fair trial, he fears the town's reaction if the girl is found innocent. Convinced Severac monks prioritize the church over justice, Eckhart wants to distance himself from the situation. As Eckhart heads back to camp, the girl pleads with him not to leave her alone with de Balzac. Eckhart, noticing her fear of the priest, approaches her cage. The girl, fearing de Balzac, grabs Eckhart, using a key from him to impale de Balzac's hand. Hearing de Balzac's screams, the party rushes out to reclaim the girl. The party follows the girl to a plague-ridden village, splitting up to search for her. Eckhart, haunted by visions of his deceased daughter Mila, mistakes Kay for her and accidentally impales himself on Kay's sword. As Behmen and Felsen approach, they hear the girl crying. Felsen finds her, and she pleads tearfully with Behmen to protect her from de Balzac. After burying Eckhart, de Balzac cautions Behmen about the girl, suspecting her involvement in Eckhart's death. He emphasizes that she overheard Eckhart sharing personal details about Mila and warns against revealing more about themselves, as the girl can exploit their vulnerabilities. When they glance at the girl, she appears curious, but as Behmen turns away, her expression shifts to a cunning smile directed at de Balzac. While riding along a mountainside road, the girl expresses gratitude to Behmen for his bravery and kindness. Her tone has shifted from timid to casually familiar. When Behmen mentions de Balzac suspecting her in Eckhart's death, she defends Eckhart and criticizes de Balzac. Sensing Bemen's pain, she offers to help, but his distrustful expression prompts her to withdraw and lie down. De Balzac comforts Kay, burdened with guilt. The party faces a shaky bridge, with Behmen testing it successfully. They unload the wagon, leaving only the girl, and cross the horses one by one. Kay and Behmen pull the wagon across the bridge. De Balzac, Felsen, and Hagamar hold a rope, but de Balzac's hands bleed, causing him to let go. The wagon lurches, and Kay nearly falls, but the girl, with one hand, saves him. They secure the wagon with horse ropes, and barely make it across the bridge, before it collapses. Resting, they reach Wormwood Forest. As the party continues, thick fog makes it hard for Hagamar to see. Felsen and Hagamar argue about camping until the fog clears. While setting up camp, Behmen talks to the girl, noting her extraordinary strength seen in saving Kay. The girl's tone shifts again, addressing Behmen as if they were friends, questioning if he thinks she's a witch. As she speaks, the torch flickers mysteriously. She leans against the bars, asking if he's afraid, prompting Behmen to cover her cage, to avoid her gaze. In his dream, he envisions the woman from Smyrna tasting her blood with a smile. Waking from a disturbing dream, Behmen discovers Hagamar preparing to kill the girl and fabricate a story about her attacking them. Behmen, Felsen, and de Balzac prevent the act, unwilling to participate in a deceitful tale. Suddenly, howls interrupt them as a pack of wolves approaches. The party defends itself, successfully fending off the initial attack. However, a larger pack emerges, forcing them to flee. Despite their efforts, the wolves catch Hagamar, leading to a gruesome demise. Behmen and Felsen, outnumbered, narrowly escape. The next day, as the party continues riding, Behmen abruptly stops the wagon and reaches for the crossbow, determined to kill the girl. However, de Belzac intervenes, pleading with Behmen to spare her. The girl watches with a smile as Behmen expresses his frustration at de Belzac. After shoving de Belzac aside, Felsen points out there at the edge of Wormwood Forest, close to the Abbey of Severac. This halts Behmen's plan to harm the girl. Arriving at the Abbey, Behmen knocks on the door, and Kay opens it from the inside. Expecting to find monks in the chapel, they discover everyone dead from the plague. De Belzac, distressed, starts praying. They hear a weak voice, find a dying monk, and see the Book of Solomon on an altar, giving de Belzac hope. The group returns to the wagon, with de Belzac holding the Book of Solomon. The girl, now confident, questions if this is her promised fair trial. De Belzac sprinkles holy water, starting a ritual. The girl deceives de Belzac and criticizes the church's sins. De Belzac's hands bleed during the ritual. Behmen draws his sword, but the girl exposes his guilt. She mimics the Crusader Grandmaster's words, astonishing Behmen and Felsen with her accurate knowledge. De Belzac realizes the girl is not a witch, but something worse. He turns to a page in the Book of Solomon with a demonic image and begins an exorcism. The girl screams, and as de Belzac reads louder, winds pick up. The girl transforms, revealing a demon. The cage melts, and the demon, now free, attacks de Belzac. Holy water hurts it, and Kay attempts to fight, but the demon escapes into the monastery. The group takes refuge in the abbey and prepares with more holy water. Behmen decides Kay's journey is ending here, but Kay insists on fulfilling his vow even if it means risking his life. Touched by Kay's bravery, Behmen knights him. As they head to confront the demon, they reflect on their journey. They realize the demon never intended to escape and seemed to influence events. The party recognizes that the demon wanted to reach the abbey, even helping them along the way. Heading to the library, the group discovers more dead monks, victims of the plague. Strangely, each monk bound himself to a chair before death, with parchments from the Book of Solomon on their desks. Behmen and de Belzac realize the monks were copying the book to fight evil. They uncover the demon's plan to destroy the last copy of the book. The demon thanks them for bringing it to the abbey. It reveals itself on the ceiling. Suddenly, the parchments ignite, and Felsen notices a disturbing fact: the bodies of the dead monks have vanished. De Belzac resumes the ritual, but the demon retaliates, causing a stone banister to fall on them. Animated corpses of monks, now under the demon's control, attack the party. Beheading the corpses dissipates them, but a last one wounds Felsen. The demon descends, seizes de Belzac, breaks his neck, and attempts to destroy the book. Holy writing burns the demon's hand. Cornered, Behmen confronts the demon, but Felsen intervenes, sacrificing himself as the demon incinerates him with unholy powers. Hearing Latin incantations, Kay takes up the book and continues the ritual. Enraged, the demon faces Kay, but Behmen charges, pinning the demon against the wall with daggers through its wings. Struggling, Behmen urges Kay to complete the ritual. As Kay recites with conviction, the demon shrieks and fights furiously. In a desperate move, the demon stabs Behmen in the back, fatally wounding him. Kay finishes the ritual with a forceful amen, causing the demon intense pain and ultimately destroying it. The sky clears, and as Kay slumps, Behmen, in his last moments, asks him to protect the girl. Kay gives proper church burials to his fallen friends, creating stone barrows with Felsen and Behmen's swords and a wooden cross as markers. The girl, now named Anna, stands beside him, grateful for those she never truly knew. Kay suggests speaking from her heart. Anna addresses the slain knights, expressing gratitude for their sacrifices. She asks Kay to share stories about Behmen, Felsen, and de Belzac. The scene shifts to Kay carrying the Book of Solomon, now its keeper, as he and Anna ride home. The movie closes with Anna's voiceover, promising to dedicate her life to sharing their story, ensuring the remembered sacrifices and horrors serve as a reminder of the very real darkness they faced. And the movie ends here. Thank you for watching, and I highly recommend watching the entire movie as it is incredibly enjoyable. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel, so you can stay updated and receive notifications whenever we upload new videos.